the beauty of our place. It's got a lot of older people there in our region, as well as many, many young people.
Work and what have you, you're right. A lot of the pilots do seem to have that good engineering background.
Well, it's certainly a handy thing, and of course, there's a lot of career opportunities with it right around the planet. Frank Parker, he's currently the president of New Zealand Warbirds. Nice aileron roll. The other three aircraft are coming in from the east, diving in for a Z loop. I was just talking to Brownie earlier, and he said, he's the lead there right now in front of us. He said, I've just turned over 1,000 hours on Harvards. It's pretty...
Now this is one of the newer pit specials in New Zealand. Very different looking aircraft. Although it's still a pit special, totally different wing. Thinner aerofoil on the asymmetrical air. Look at that there, Marcus.
Nice inverted flight, threading the needle there.
So I pretty much followed this team right through from the first training camp they did to Warbirds over Wanaka today, and they were trying to come up with a name, and they finally came up with things and display this weekend at Warbirds over Wanaka. Andy Love in the lead there, the number one lead. Then we have Mark O'Sullivan, number 2 left wing, Lincoln Jones, number 3 right wing.
There's so many different versions of the bits, different engines from 95 horsepower in the original, right up to over 400 horsepower. Some versions only built in very small numbers, like the Wolf Pitts Pro.
Assistant display director here for Warbirds over Wanaka. So you've got the two 200 horsepower pits, and then the 260, the green one. This aircraft formerly flew out of Queenstown with action flights.
Modified and refined from that 1944-45 design, and impression is the better part of the orange taken off the side. And that was also used by the Americans as the T6, or the trainer model 6, or the SNJ, as called by the US Navy. This machine, beautifully restored, a former Royal New Zealand Air Force aircraft when they went out of service in the 1970s. Full noise, ladies and gentlemen. This Yak 3 has incredible performance, and of course did quite well for itself at Reno.
We've got a gentleman in the crowd, folks, by the name of Ian Watson, and he is watching the air show. He took...
And it's designed out of a Renault engine, which was a V8.
We were talking beforehand about, you know, some of the leftover Merlins after the war going into hydroplanes, which is kind of sacrilege in some people's eyes, but My father built an airboat like you would have seen in the Everglades, and it had a Gypsy Major engine on a stand on it. And he used to get out there and manually flick the prop. There was no health and safety. But the thing could do about 75 miles. It was only 16 foot long, about 75 miles an hour, effective air rudders on the back. But you had to get a bit of thrust up from the prop to get the air rudders working. But a cool machine, it was a Gypsy Major. They're so torquey.
Yep. And a lot of them used down in the Florida Everglades. It's like streamer strapping when you toss out a roll of Mr. Sorbon's finest and you've got to keep it in sight all the time, and you are flying the aeroplane all the way through.
So, and all these, apart from the Gypsy Moth, all these de Havillands of this era have the inverted engine, which can pose its own problems. They have a dry sump, obviously, but every 25 hours you have to drain the oil from the rocker covers and put new oil in there. But what was the main reason for having them inverted?
Well, that improved the visibility forward. The DH60 had the upright engine.
From the deep south of New Zealand, and it was finished off at Heli Support Refinishing, putting that beautiful paint job on, as was Harvard 1044, Bevan Hughes' machine. So Heli Support's refinishing.
That is a lovely scheme on that Tiger.
It's a beautiful scheme, and that's Lucy's own scheme, the polished cowl.